Sometimes ago, elsewhere, I told a few stories that have to do with redefining the concept, failure, and success. Sometimes what we have classified as failure or success might not really be. Sometimes we are in denial. And I remember I mentioned the story of a king who wanted to enshrine faithfulness, honesty, and sincerity in his kingdom. And as an incentive, he will want a honest person marry his daughter, just like in the past. You remember when we want to give incentive in primary school? If you score 5 all over 5, what is the incentive? They ask you to sit down and everybody in your class will stand up and give you 5 claps. You remember? I also remember. And kings in the Bible will say anyone who could kill this enemy will be given king's daughter. And everybody will want to be a son-in-law to the king. You remember the story of David very well? That was that was how he got married to Hagar. Yes, Saul gave Hagar, sorry, Micah to him. All right, this king will want a honest person, illustrious person, anyone who is able to plant a particular seed. I mean, if you sow this seed, it germinates, it shows how excellent you are. He gave everybody some seed and he gave them deadline. Go and grow the seed. As soon as it has germinated, it's a sign that you're going to marry my daughter. And everybody was very dutiful. Everybody went to the farm. They applied all they could. I mean fertilizers. They applied fertilizers. They got good ground. They water it correctly. But it appeared nothing happened. Nothing. I said nothing happened. All of them except one said, well, I've told my friends that I will be the son-in-law to the king. What will I do? My seed has to germinate. And everybody consulted. So, at the due day, all except one presented his seed to the king. And the king was happy. Isn't that great? Isn't that excellent? But there's confusion. You all have your seed grown. I mean, how then will I know who is going to marry my daughter? He says, it's only one person. Only one person didn't have his seed germinated. And in fact, he was so ashamed that he could not present himself because his seed did not germinate. Come and see, several people have started congratulating the people whose seeds germinated. The man whose seed did not germinate did not present himself. He didn't come because he was a failure. He couldn't have his seed germinated. The king ordered that it should be brought before him. He was so ashamed. He wasn't a good farmer. He didn't have enough wisdom. All he knew, he applied and nothing worked. He was indeed a failure. You remember? The same way Joseph was a failure. Joseph could not maintain his job. First, he was a bad boy. His brothers had to sell him, otherwise he would have been killed. And he got a good job and he could not maintain it. You remember the story very well. That was what was on the pages of the newspapers. Because David did not have moral standard. He began to misbehave towards his master's wife. He was actually meant to be a slave and he was promoted a head slave. Can't he just concentrate on his job? Why will he be hiring his master's wife? I mean, you can imagine. Is somebody who was a failure that could not maintain his job. He was a failure. And so nobody pitied him when he was thrown to jail. Yes. Do you remember the story of his brother, Benjamin as well? Benjamin was a very stubborn child. I mean, why will he steal the king's cup? I mean, is that the way to repay the king? He was a failure because he was a thief. Isn't that fantastic? I can imagine what would have been the caption on the front page of the Egyptian newspaper. Hebrew stole king's cup. An Hebrew boy stole king's cup. Another one will have said, an Hebrew boy stole king's choice cup. And you know the rest of the story and all the semantics. I mean, it's like, it's quite embarrassing. And the brother will ask, why will you have to steal his cup? You have disappointed us. I mean, the same thing will have happened to that young man. Yes. The same thing that happened to all these people had mentioned possibly will have happened to Edison, Thomas Edison, who performed a particular experiment 1,000 times and he never got any success on it. And can you imagine what people are saying around? He's a failure. Don't mind him. Somebody that has stayed so many years on a particular assignment, experiment, and he couldn't succeed. Is that the person that will talk to us, that will listen? I mean, it was quite embarrassing. That was Thomas Edison. Embarrassing to the extent that even his assistant came. Mr. Edison, do you know that we have failed 1,000 times? On the contrary, Edison said, no. We have not failed 1,000 times. Rather, we have known 1,000 ways by which you cannot achieve this if you continue. So that has made us to be consultants. Yes. So this young boy whose seed did not germinate came dragging his feet before the king. And the king said, and what happened? Why is it that you not liaise with your colleagues and learn how to grow seed? Why? Anyway, what happened to you? The man said he attempted everything and nothing worked. Guess what? The king said, that seed I gave to all of you is a test. It can never germinate. It was cooked before it was exposed to sun to dry. That seed can never germinate. Who is a failure? And who is a success? Again, it is high time we redefine what success is and what failures are. Please, ponder on it. I'm going to tell two stories, all from the Bible. Can you remember this man called Judah? I guess you can remember him very well. You know, he got three sons, and the first son got married to a particular lady, and he was wicked. Of course, he died. And the second son was meant to raise a child for his brother. And because he made up his mind that he was not going to raise any child for anybody, and you know this, the story of Onam, the usual thing that they spill and all that, and God killed them. So, and Judah said, no, 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 no. I am not going to allow the third child to die. He possibly or probably thought that it was that woman that was killing them. So he now told her, hey, please, you want to go to your mother's, your parent place? And by the time this last child is grown up, I will come to call you. Of course, we all know that it was a ploy to preserve that boy. And when he was about to shear his sheep, he felt pressed. And he told his friend that there's a particular harlot around here. Let me go and. So he went in onto a particular harlot. I put a particular harlot because it's in quote. Unfortunately, he didn't have any money to give. And the harlot said, well, no credit. I want you to give me an assurance that you will pay me my money. So, what deposit can you give for collateral? And he gave the sign the staff. And you know the rest of the story. A few months later, he heard that that lady, his son's wife, played adultery and that had conceived. And you know what Judah will say? One killer. The law is clear. But that lady said, okay, my father-in-law, please, can we have a chat? Can we come over? Let me just. And she showed. So the person that slept with me is the owner of all this. And Judah quickly remembered, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. You are more righteous than I am. Because after all, I sent my friend to give you your money and to collect my collateral back. And the lady said, no. I heard that you were going to other side to share your sheep. And that because you did not tell me anything about your son again and he's grown up. That was why. That's okay. And he got two children, twins. Imagine what will be on the caption of the newspaper. Judah slept with his son's wife. Isn't it? Is that not despicable? Who is that person I want to identify with Judah? Judah said, Judah. Oh, where is Judah? Judah is. He said he was going to travel. And who else is traveling that day? Hey, please tell Maria not to travel. Because Judah cannot be trusted with anybody in skirt. That was Judah. Let me tell you the story of another person. A real harlot. Rahab. A clear harlot. That was her profession. She was a professional harlot. Don't forget I'm talking about success and failure. But do you remember the story of the spies? The 12 spies? And how they got to stay in a hotel and how she preserved them. Of course, she stopped harlotry. She stopped it. because she was converted. But because we all know that there's nobody who is in the present who never had the past, except what we are made to believe now, that somebody can have the present without the past. We all have the past, and our past can be stinking, despicable, unpleasant. But once you are done with your past and you make disclosure about it and you stop whatever you are doing, because everything is a record. So, you're correct. Now, I told the two stories of Judah and Rahab because their stories are such that one will want to cover one's face because their past was not very good. But if you want to get to the book of Matthew chapter 1, when the Bible is talking about the genealogy of Jesus Christ, you'll be so shocked. You'll be so shocked that Jesus is from the tribe of Judah rather. It was from the tribe of Judah, and the lineage of Perez, one of the twins Judah got via that lady, his son's wife. What lesson is Jesus teaching us? You don't look down on anyone. Everybody has a past. Everything is for our example. It's for our learning. We are learning. Can you ever imagine when the Bible proceeds to talk about Jesus' genealogy again, the same chapter I refer to? He mentioned Rahab, the harlot. That was the tribe, that was the lineage of Jesus Christ. Jesus identified with everybody. So why are you hiding your past? Why are you hiding your past? If you no longer do it, please be proud of it so that others may learn. Everything that happened to us are our example. Saul was a murderer, was a killer, was killing Christians around. The moment he changed, then he changed for better. What is your offense? You have a physically challenged child and you are hiding him or her. You got a child when you are in the college and you are hiding him or her. As a wife, as a lady, you are hiding her. Even as a husband, if you had a child and your wife now said, no, I don't want to know anything about that child, does that mean that you don't have a past? You have a past. Everybody has a past. Please, learn about success and failure. Those things we treat as failure really may not be failure. And those things we treat as success might really not be success. Sometimes ago, and I'm very serious about it, the Lord told me that there are some failures that glorify God. Failures that glorify God. And there are some successes that glorify God. One glorifies, one deglorifies. If a child of God cheats in an exam and has excellent results, out there it's a success, but to God it's a failure. The way we rate success and failure is not the same way God rates. That was why I was giving the story of Joseph and that of Benjamin and that of the others, so that we'll be able to know that the way God sees is not the way we see. But if He insists you are not going to cheat, you never cheated, but you failed out there, I mean, it is rated as though you have failed. Everybody can say you failed, but you did not fail because God knew that you stood your ground and you did not just get that success in quotes from elsewhere. Such successes we think that make our heads swell and people respect us and all that might not be the success. God sees everything that goes on in the dark. We have to redefine what success is and what failures are. Please. Why did I come to share this? Imagine this man who is now very successful. I mean, extremely successful. But when he narrated how he got his success, he told a story. He said, my boss always fought with every other person in the office and that nobody should call me a thief. I said, what does that mean? It's a long story. Okay, summarize it. Guess what happened? This boy came out of college. He had no job for whatever reason. And he was conscripted to robbery gang. The first outing, he was meant to pull the trigger, but this boy did not pull the trigger, and that caused a problem. And they ran away, but this boy could not run away from the house because people had already come to rescue and to search and all that. But he was hiding somewhere in the dining, and nobody bothered to check the dining. I mean, in the morning, the wife served the meal. Sorry, the maid served the meal, but the wife came to check whether the meal was actually good enough for her husband. And she added something to the meal, a particular item, which eventually turned to be poison. And the thief saw it, and the wife went to call the husband and ushered him to the dining with a lot of kisses and hugging and all that, and sat down there. When the husband was about to eat, she left. And the husband just opened and about to eat. After he had washed his hand, the thief came out. Sir, I am a thief. I am not a murderer. I came early this morning to rob you because you have money, but I made a mistake. I did not pull the trigger. That is not my story. My story is this food you're about to eat, your wife poisoned it. I was hiding and I saw her. Please ask her to come and eat with you. Then you know what I'm talking about. The man said, go back to the hiding. And everything happened. When the woman understood that she had been exposed, she knelt down and said she was sorry. And the husband said, well, I will never trust you again. So why don't you go back and let us resolve this? So, and the man asked the thief in quote, of course, what is your job? What happened to you? And he explained, say, I'm going to employ you. And this boy happened to be a very brilliant guy. So he was employed. But some people knew the story. And this boy was promoted in the company and all that, and he became really big, and now he had company of his own. But while he was working with his boss, the boss will always stand his ground. Never you call him a thief. Because people were jealous. And the question I asked him is, sir, did you share this story with any other person? It's for example. Somebody can learn through what you have gone through and all that. You have the past, let people know about your past. See, everybody is an author. When you are writing a book, you are reading other people's book, and you are now writing, and no, you are wasting your time. Everybody has a narrative. Tell us about your narrative, and it will sell. Tell us what you went through and what you were thinking at that time. Tell us what you went through and what other people are thinking at that time. Now tell us what has become of you now. You have a narrative, you have the past. For every debit entry, there's a corresponding credit entry. Let people know. That's why I came around to say, what is success? What is failure? Can people learn from whatever people call failure? Can people begin to learn from whatever people call success? Maybe there could be better tomorrow. Maybe there will be a different orientation and thought. Maybe you can change our thought pattern if we know the difference between what the contemporary calls success or failure. I mean, what is your past? Can you tell people about your past? Where are you now? Can people learn from what you have gone through? Joseph was never a failure. He stood his ground not to sleep with his master's wife, but it was misunderstood. Benjamin was never a thief. It was misconstrued. We all knew. We all know that it was the ploy of Joseph, his brother, who was a prime minister at that time, because he wanted to test his brothers whether they are still as wicked as they were when they attempted to kill him, and possibly, of course, you know that they sold him. What is success to you? Whatever you do out there that people clap for, you know, underneath that is something which is very despicable. It can be very shameful. Please, let us redefine. If your child is not bringing in certain things, if your daughter is not, in quote, progressive as others, please do not just do otherwise. Encourage. Let us respect effort. Everybody put effort. Remember this. Another failure in the Bible? Yes. His name is Isaac, the son of Abraham. Can you ever imagine this guy dug a well the first time he got water, and somebody came and fought over it and collected it from him, and yet he needed to feed his animals? He did that 6 times. What a failure. I mean, colossal failure. But the 7th time, they did not strive with him again when he got water, and he called it Rehoboth. What is failure? Let us consider effort. People put effort. Recognize effort. Respect effort. Do not judge a book by its cover. Please appreciate that person because he's trying. Foul, foul, foul sweats. It is only the feathers that cover it. Please lay emphasis not just on the outcome, but on the effort put, effort put, effort exerted. That is what I have meant by redefining success and failure. It is no failure just because it has not resulted. Just because it has not resulted in what we have done. My name is Christian Martin. Redefining success or failure. What is success? What is failure? What do we think it is? Let's express